Hello, my dear young friends. Today, I will continue the topic on group discussion, wherein we can discuss about the various stages which are involved in the process of group discussion. Because group discussion is broadly divided again into a few broad parameters as such. There is a process of initiation, and there is a process of taking forward the group discussion, and finally it has to be concluded and summarized. Now, starting with the initial stage of group discussion, in the beginning of the group discussion is called the initiation. Before that, let me give you a brief overview of this group discussion. Just to make the points fresh again, the group discussion is conducted by assigning a topic to a group, and the group is then observed and it is assessed based on their performance in the discussion. This is how generally a group discussion happens. And here the performance includes taking active part in the discussion, contributing new and innovative ideas to the discussion, and communicating the ideas effectively. Because communicating the ideas effectively is the most important component of group discussion. Because, howsoever the ideas may be, still the expression part needs to be very effective so that the communication reaches uh, the audience, the participants here, and also convincing others about your ideas, about your agreements, and countering their ideas, whether you agree with them or not, is another point. Because it is not necessarily that one must always agree or one must always disagree. Definitely, valid points have to be put across so that the bone of contention will be clear, and there is clarity in thought, clarity in expression, so that ultimately the group discussion will yield something fruitful and positive. That is the whole intention, the objective of having a group discussion. And now, a group discussion will generally pass through various stages. There are various stages in a group discussion. In the beginning, it is the initiation. The initiation is the first step, very first step, wherein a discussion happens. The first reference here is made to the topic, and after the topic is given, we have an initiator. The initiator generally begins the discussion. He sets the ball rolling, and the conversation, I mean, the process of discussion starts. And initiator, as we observe, he plays a major role in introducing the topic, because it is not uh, very apt to go without introduction. Introduction is mandatory and a formality which should not be missed. And it's not always necessary that you have to be the first person to speak in a group, but you can also contribute at a later stage by adding a new perspective to the discussion. Maybe you can give some value addition to your discussion, because maybe the first person and the first few persons who start off with something very novel or something which is interesting, and you may accept it or not. You may definitely counter it. You may definitely add something to it only after listening. So, not just an initiator, a good listener can also be a good participant in a group discussion, because only when you listen to something, then you can improvise upon it, or probably you can give some value addition. And nextly, we have to take the group discussion forward. The taking forward of the group discussion is the second and important step. You can always use expressions like I would like to add a point, or to add to what you're saying. Or sometimes when there are disagreements, you can also say, I'm sorry, but I don't agree with what you are saying. And you can say that my thoughts on the issue are quite different. And you may also say politely, I beg to differ with you on this. So it's something like this. There are definitely ways to agree and to disagree. Because what happens is, sometimes people in group discussion get over excited, and sometimes when they lose control, it is difficult for the discussions in the group to continue. Therefore, a certain amount of dignity and maturity in group discussions have to be maintained at any cost. Now, when you are concluding and when you are summarizing, what one must always keep in mind is, like, it's not always necessary, right, that all the group discussions are concluded. Sometimes you are expected to summarize the main points of a group discussion, and very briefly you can mention the key points discussed in the group. Because once you summarize and once you sum up the key points which are discussed in the group, then you should remember that you need to summarize all the views, whether you agree with them or not. You can always classify into what you agree or what you don't agree. And also, you should not introduce any new ideas at this stage, because when you are concluding the debate here, sorry, the group discussion, there is no point in adding something new, because that may again lead to a round of chaos. Because after so much of time and effort has been spent on the group discussion, it is not advised to have a fresh thought at the end of a group discussion. So, while summarizing, it is better to summarize the main points of a group discussion, and you can also very briefly mention the key points discussed in the group. And you must remember that you need to summarize all the views, whether you agree with them or not, because both actually have a very important role. It is not just what you agree with, it is also equally important about what you don't agree with, also. Because there are definitely the two sides of a coin, the pros and cons of any good discussion or any good valid point. And at the end, when you are concluding, you can always be very thankful to all the participants in a group discussion. Why? Because out of discussion, out of this group discussion, a lot of new ideas would be generated. They always say that a teamwork esprit de corps. The teamwork always is more productive than working in isolation. because there are different approaches, different perspectives, different ways of thinking, and all this will definitely add to the quality of the output. So, group discussion is very vital in this aspect, because of which it is a formality that you have to be thankful to all the participants in the group. So, with this, I have given you a brief idea about the stages of a group discussion, wherein the initiation is the beginning step, the first step of a group discussion, and it is the initiator who takes the first chance to start discussing the topic, and later the topic is carried forward, and discussions emerge, and various points of view also emerge during the course of discussion. And to conclude, generally we take into account, we make an account of all the points wherein we agree or disagree, so that both the sides of the discussion are balanced and given due representation, because group discussion definitely is a bipartisan kind of a thing, wherein you cannot have unequal ways of discussing or coming to any conclusion. Therefore, concluding the group discussion, one needs to summarize the various points of view in a group discussion, and one also has to be thankful to all the participants in the group. Okay, thank you, my dear friends, for listening. Thank you.